We have Mollie Bodensteiner. Mollie is the Vice President of Marketing at Funnelwise, a full funnel visibility platform for sales and marketing that allows them to take revenue-driving actions with intelligent recommendations. She has over 8 years' experience in sales and marketing technology. Prior to joining Funnelwise, she served as a project manager and business consultant at Marketo, where she helped clients optimize their sales and marketing processes and leverage related technologies. She is trained in practice in DMAC, Six Sigma, and rapid process improvement. Mollie comes to us all the way today from San Francisco, and she's hopping a plane after her presentation to Atlanta. So we have her for just a moment, one beautiful pocket of her time. Thanks, Mollie. Come on stage.
Perfect. Thanks so much, everyone. I know I got the nice after lunch time, so I'm going to try to keep you guys really entertained, make this interactive. You've even got a worksheet, so I might even give you a little bit of homework, so let's dive in. Really what I want to do today is talk about funnels, the marketing, the sales funnel, and how you can use that funnel process to really empower revenue growth within your organization. So a little bit more about me. So I'm an Iowa native. I'm from Des Moines. Currently at Funnelwise, Vice President of Marketing. Prior to that, I was at Marketo out in San Francisco, but I've since relocated back to Iowa, so just to clear that up. But during my time at Marketo, sorry, I'm going to make an adjustment here, I worked with hundreds of companies from small to mid to enterprise level businesses to really help them refine their marketing and sales processes using technology. The one thing that all my clients had in common was they really had no idea what they were doing when it came in terms of their funnel, especially the metrics and the measurement around their funnel. So today I really want to spend time talking about what a revenue funnel is, how you really put your funnel into practice, connect the dots using the metrics, and operationalize it to drive your business forward. So what is a revenue funnel? The term revenue funnel is just simply a term. You may call it a sales and marketing funnel. Serious Decisions calls it a waterfall. It's the buyer's journey. The definition is truly the process your organization uses to generate, transition, and nurture prospects from marketing through sales on their journey to being a customer. It's truly the process they go through from their first engagement with your organization all the way down to a closed-won customer. So this is one of my favorite things to say. A revenue funnel is designed to save you from random acts of marketing and fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants sales. It's really about engaging with the right person with the right message at the right time. So why are these funnels so darn important? Like, why am I up here talking about them? First and foremost, they align your sales and marketing efforts. They make sure you have a smooth process for your prospects to go through. They help you predict revenue. You start to gather the data, get the metrics to help drive your business forward. They're also the platform for future success. They make it repeatable, measurable, and scalable to follow the process to the most direct route to revenue. So I want to speak the language a little bit because we like to throw out acronyms as a marketer, so I want to put some slides up here to really just hone in on what I'm going to talk about. So when we talk about tofu, I'm not talking about the food. I'm talking about the top of your funnel, which is truly marketing's responsibility. Then we've got our BOFU, bottom of the funnel, which is primarily controlled by sales. And we have the nice gray, or on my slide, blue space, which is your MOFU, which is truly the middle of the funnel and the shared responsibility between marketing and sales. So to bring it all together, we've got the tofu, marketing's responsibility, truly building awareness around the problem you're trying to solve. Your MOFU is how you're going to educate the prospects to choose the right solution, ideally your solution. And then in BOFU, you want to really hone in that sales side, explaining why your solution is the best. So at Funnelwise, we have a methodology we use with our clients called Revenue Funnel Science. It's really the steps that you need to take to build your revenue funnel. Today, I'm going to spend most of my time on building the foundation because that's the most important step, because without a good foundation, it's not as easy to use, you're not going to get the right data from it, and it's not as meaningful and impactful for your business. Additionally, I'll provide some information on connect the dots and operationalize the funnel so you can get to that next level, but I'll have some additional resources you can use after the event. So behind every successful sales and marketing organization, is a well-tuned funnel. So to build the foundation, it starts with a blueprint. So thinking about when you build a house, you just don't go out there with wood and nails and a hammer and start putting things together. You have a plan, you have the blueprint. In our terms, the blueprint is really the written definitions of stages in your funnel. So everyone comes back and says, well, really, what's a stage? So a stage is a segmentation or group of people who are at the same level of interest and same level of understanding on your product. It's those buckets of people as they move through, their engagement and their understanding with what you do moves with them. So qualities for an effective blueprint is that you have consensus. Anyone who is accountable for revenue within your organization needs to sign off and agree with your blueprint. Otherwise, you're gonna have X, Y, and Z doing this process and someone else doing this process, and you're not gonna have consistent measurement. It also needs to be comprehensive. It has to take into account all the different ways a prospect can engage with you. And then it needs to outline who owns what, so there's a clear line of accountability. So I've got two different versions of the funnel up here, just to give you an example of how a B2C versus a B2B funnel might look. So in the middle, you'll see my 6 stages. They're very generic stage names, but they really just hone in on how you might have the same stage names, but they mean different things based on your business. So I just had a baby in January, and we spent a lot of time on this B2C side of it. Had to buy the car seat, the stroller, the diapers, all that good stuff. So it starts with awareness. All right, I was clearly aware I was pregnant. So I had to go out and search for information so I could make the right choices. I had interest in car seats, for example. So I went out, got on Amazon, got on Bye Bye Baby, got on all the scary mom blogs, and tried to learn about solutions out there. I found my narrow list of products that I wanted to consider. I further read reviews. I pulled my social network to really find what was the right fit for my family. I had intent to buy the solution. So I found the car seat I wanted. I put it in my cart on Amazon. I reviewed my cart through the evaluation process, and I completed my sale and purchased it. So, B2C, high volume, usually for the companies who are doing B2C, and also usually a shorter sales cycle, especially if it's e-commerce, as Amazon, for an example. So B2B, at Funnelwise, I was tasked with putting a live chat platform for our organization's website. Took a completely different process, but used the same steps. It all started with, I knew I needed this. I was aware of it, so I went and searched for information. Then I had the interest, so I started examining solutions, reading reviews, looking at what other websites were using for their live chat vendors, and then moved to consideration. So one of the big differences between B2C and B2B are the level of stakeholders. So I had myself, who was the executive decision maker, but I also had my champion, my end user, who were there, and I needed to involve in that decision too. So it wasn't my family, myself and my husband making the decision. It was actually more of a team consensus and more of that buy-in. The intent was I actually completed demos of several live chat vendors. I did trials of them. I really did my due diligence to make sure it was the right platform. I got the contract, reviewed the terms, had to bring finance in so they could review the terms, the bottleneck in the process. And then I got the signed contract, and we started using the platform. Another way to think about your funnel is inbound versus outbound, and this really focuses on what you're doing from a marketing perspective. So as a good marketer, I always want inbound. I want people coming to me, wanting to buy from me, versus outbound, which is me reaching out, trying to get people to buy. So when we talk about awareness on an inbound standpoint, it's really that you've created the content and are out there to bring people in. You have to be there for people to find you. And then from an interest level, you're promoting your content, you're building the relationship, you're making it sticky, you're making them want to be there and want to learn more. And then you're ultimately growing your traffic and qualifying your prospects. I'm going to jump over to the top of the funnel of the outbound side because the sales stages are really the same. So outbound is the list of prospects. As Tori mentioned earlier, buying a list of prospects almost never works. It's kind of that last-ditch effort because it requires so much more work and so much more touch points. The people who you're buying the list of aren't aware of who you are. I want people coming to me who know who I am. Then you're going to send those mass emails. How many people today got a mass email from a company they had never heard of before? I think I got 20. So, and I can't opt out because I'm a good marketer and I just want to see what's going to keep coming. So, you get those mass emails, and then you're going to start tracking their interaction to eventually qualify them. The buying cycle from the consideration stage on are really the same. That's when sales is going to come in, connect directly once they get qualified, identify the pain point, position the value of your solution, and hopefully sign a contract. So when I talked about the blueprint, there's really 3 pieces that tie into the consideration for building a successful stage in the blueprint. So when we think about that, it's a business definition. It's the entry criteria, so how can the prospect enter the stage, and the exit criteria, how do I know that they left? So when you look at the consideration stage here, it's that they've expressed interest in the product or service, and they meet my qualification criteria. The exit means we've validated the interest, we've validated that they can buy from us, and we can assign a numerical or monetary amount to their sale. And then the last piece is the technical definition. So with the CRM and marketing automation platforms, what can you actually automate within your workflows to handle some of these touch points for you and truly just move the prospect through the funnel? So more than 80% of companies have changed at least one business process in the past 3 years to better interact with their customers. So what this means is that your funnel is constantly changing. So what I tell our customers at Funnelwise is you need to get that team together who's ultimately accountable for delivering on the funnel, at least quarterly, to make the changes. Or if you're hiring a new person, you have to figure out how they're going to fit within the funnel. You constantly need to review this to make sure it truly aligns with how you're doing business. A generic revenue funnel is wrong for any company. So the one thing I could ask today is you don't take my B2C or my B2B version of a funnel and say, all right, we got our funnel, let's go, because I will guarantee you it will fail, because it's not actually what you're doing. It has to be customized for your business. So I'm going to go into build your funnel with you guys. There are worksheets actually on your desk, and desk like we're in school, but on your table. And I encourage you to start filling out your stages of your funnel as we talk through this. Ultimately, we're doing the hardest part of building your funnel while we're in the room together right now. After you get this defined and agreed upon, it's all a cakewalk from there. So I like to talk about my funnel with some funny puns, but the law of attraction. So this is really the top of the funnel. I think of this sometimes as like the first date with somebody. Like it's determining, do I like this person or do I not? So that's, the buying signal you're going to start getting from your prospective customers is they've got a problem, they're looking for a solution, and they're going to start their researching. Your goal as the business is to educate them without trying to sell them. So some tactics for this, because who likes to be sold to, I guess? That show of hands. Does anyone actively like to be sold to? I mean, whenever I get a phone call from a number I don't know, I can only assume it's someone who's going to try to sell me something, and they probably haven't researched who I am, and I'm going to get a cold pitch. So the goal here, educate them. Don't try to sell them. By doing this, you need to generate the traffic, spread awareness, cultivate brand buzz. And one of the best ways to do this is through social media. We're all on social media. We're all putting things out there. The other way to do this is publishing blog posts. Like, I love reading blogs from people I'm never going to buy from, but I might buy from someday. I just don't have the need, so I guess never say never. But to learn more, understand those problems. And it's also a really good way to start slightly marketing and slightly getting in front of people who typically wouldn't find you. The next piece of this is really the qualification. And I'm going to spend a lot of time on qualification because it is such a fuzzy area. When we think about the funnel, your top, your tofu is marketing, your bofu is sales, but this qualification stage is kind of the mix of both. And it needs to be because it's truly that handoff from marketing to sales. So your buying signals here, when I thought about live chat, is I've identified that I need live chat. I'm really understanding the solutions out there. And my goal as the seller of that is to continue to educate, but start positioning your product as the one that's going to solve their problem. Credibility is huge here. Having case studies, testimonials, demonstrating the thought leadership, having people you can refer them to get feedback and understand how they're using it makes it more tangible. So when I talk about qualification, I talk about it as two different pieces. It's this healthy equation of fit plus interest. So I think about this with George Clooney. I know this is a male-dominated audience, so I probably should have come up with a different analogy, but I think about George Clooney and how he's my perfect husband. Please don't tell my husband. I mean, he checks every box from a fit standpoint. I mean, he's got the right salary, he's good looking, our kids will age well. The problem is, George Clooney has no interest in me. I've been working on it, and I'm just not getting there. So when we think about fit and interest, and think about your ideal customer profile, is you're gonna have firmographic pieces that you wanna make sure your customer has, or your potential customer has. The right job title, industry, location, company size. The challenging part, because it's easy to define who you wanna sell to, the challenging part is getting them to wanna buy from you. And that's where the interest comes in. So they have to really demonstrate they're seriously considering your solution to have interest. They need to engage across multiple channels. If it's somebody only coming to your blog who's never went to your website to learn more about your product, they're probably not gonna buy from you. The other thing is, my favorite thing, is the request to be contacted. Make sure it's easy for somebody to get in touch with you to explain their interest. Make sure your website has a form that people can fill out to learn more, a demo request, or make it easy just for them to get in touch, because if they raise their hand high enough, we wanna make sure we're following up with them. So I've got a little quadrant up here, because I think this helps explain what should I do based on your fit and your interest. So if I have high fit, like George Clooney has for me, and low interest, I probably need to start nurturing him a little bit. Maybe not stalk him, because that hasn't worked in the past, but get him to notice me, get out there. I'm trying to do that today, being here speaking, so maybe he'll find me, who knows. If I've got high fit and high interest, follow up immediately. So the first viable vendor to reach a decision maker and set up the buying vision has a 74% chance, or 74% average close ratio, on that. So when we think about Talladega Nights and Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. This is so critical. That's why understanding who you want to sell to and how they indicate that they're qualified based on their behavior is crucial. Because you want to be the first one up there, but if you're calling everyone, people who haven't been to your website or haven't done enough, you're gonna miss this 74% chance window because you're gonna be too soon. And if you drag your feet too long before you reach out, you're gonna be too late. Chances are when somebody fills out a demo request form on your website, they're filling them out on your competitors' websites as well. So you wanna make sure you've got the right system in place to get that notification and follow up. Same thing with going to a trade show or some other live event. Someone expresses interest, they've probably expressed interest to other people as well. So make sure you understand what that qualification looks like. The bottom of the funnel is probably the most fun because that's moving them across the goal line. All right, we've got you in the door, we've created the awareness, we've now got you qualified. Now how do we actually get you acquired? So this is, the buyer's ready to make the decision. They know what they're gonna do from the purchasing side. It's really converting them to the paying customer. So as Kayla mentioned in her presentation, BANT. Confirm BANT. Make sure they actually have budget. Make sure they have authority to actually buy. They have the need and understand what their timelines are. The best way to do this is through one-on-one engagements, ideally in person if you can, but don't try to group sell because that almost never works. And then create urgency. Whether you can offer discount codes or anything you can do to the contract to help push them forward, especially when you understand their timeline. So with the worksheets in front of you, I want you guys to think through and build your own funnel. So talking through the top, tofu, what's gonna bring them in? What is bringing them in? Mofu, how do you determine that they're qualified? And the bofu is how do they close? So I wanna take a few minutes here to see if there's any questions on the building of the funnel and the blueprint side before I go into the other steps of it. A few things I'll chime in on here is there's no ideal number of stages. I would say if you only have one stage, though, in your buying process, probably not a good idea. Ideally, you should have at least 3 because you've got the marketing efforts, the middle of the funnel, the qualification efforts, and the sales efforts. Even if you're one person in a one-person shop and you're doing all those activities, there's still a process. It's not a one-stage thing. We've had some clients at Funnelwise who have had upwards of 20 stages. That's great. If it makes sense for your business, go for it. Just make sure your stages are actually truly meaningful. Otherwise, it gets pretty convoluted when you go into the metrics. The other fun thing I like to add is name the stage whatever you want to. Just make sure it makes sense for people internally. Our stages at Funnelwise internally are a lot of acronyms that mean something to us, but don't always mean something to people externally, which is okay because they're not going to see your funnel anyway, but just make sure they make sense internally. So any questions on building the funnel while you guys work on kind of the worksheet and thinking through that? Someone has to have a question. There we go. Thank you. As in scripts, you mean going out and like Googling something who, okay.
Where the person making that call, whether it's one person or salespeople, are all working off of a predetermined script.
Gotcha.
Ask these questions, here's your follow-up question, et cetera, et cetera.
So from my experience working with sales organizations, especially when you onboard, it's nice to have a script. It's nice to do the role playing, the back and forth banter so they understand like what they're talking about. But with our team right now, I would never set a script in front of them because I want them to be able to listen to the customer, understand the customer's pain points, how they're talking about it, and be able to respond in a natural way. I can tell when I'm on a demo with someone who's reading off of a script because it's insincere, it's impersonal. I like to get on a call with someone where it's conversational. They're truly trying to learn about my pain points and solve my problem. There's that empathy factor to it. So I think it's a good starting point, especially when you're training and role-playing, but ultimately you don't want canned salespeople. You want people with personality who have that woo to manage the relationship. Any other questions? I'm going to just stand up here until people ask questions. I shouldn't have given away my drink ticket. Could have raffled that off.
For your top of funnel, do you have any suggestions to increase the top of the funnel or to pull more people in even before they might even know that they have a problem? Because again, you want to be the first ones when you're there without really cold calling them and bothering them. But do you have any ideas or any suggestions on how to make them aware that they do have a problem that you can solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I broke my PowerPoint, sorry. So there's a few different things you can do. So ultimately, taking things off your website. So you've got this great website out there, but you're not getting people directly into it. So the social media, the off website, going out to network, helping understand, if you're selling something to X, Y, and Z industry, being there, networking, building the relationship, using your social channel and your social reach to help identify, classify that problem, and educate them on solutions. At Funnelwise, we have a full funnel visibility platform. Most people don't know what that is. So one thing that we actually have spent a lot of time putting together is the right content to educate them on that, whether it's an ebook, like how do you actually buy an analytics platform to help manage your funnel? It's totally product agnostic. It's thought leadership. It's just really, how do you do this? We've got tons of great cheat sheets out there. So I think the big piece to fill your funnel is the product agnostic education, but it's also being in front of the problem too. So using some of those predictive insights through SEO to bring people to that content too. Spending a little money on, the social, your SEM, so your social ads, to kind of get your brand out there and build that awareness. Makes people more inquisitive to say, what do these people do? What problem are they trying to solve?
Over here. I got a question for you.
I don't know.
Just in front.
Okay,
here.
sorry, I was like, I don't know where I'm looking.
So I noticed when you were showing your B2B and your B2C model funnels up there that you did it from the buyer's perspective versus the seller's perspective. Is that something that, generally speaking, is the way to approach your funnel? And then, two-part question: what do you do when you think you've potentially lost a deal if it's a B2B model? And when do you qualify? Like, how do you set parameters around, that person's fallen off the wagon, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I talk through the model, I talk about the journey the buyers are going through. And because that's the realistic way that they're actually getting sold. So you could put on your piece of paper like what you think your steps are, but if that's not truly the journey your buyers are going through, it's not going to align right with your stages. And then regarding funnel leakage, so I know leakage is such a weird term, but there's really 3 classifications of that. It's your nurture or recycle, which are the people who don't get to an opportunity, who just aren't ready to buy. You've identified, they don't have that right bant. There's also the disqualified people who are going to come in and they're never going to buy from you. They don't fit your fit criteria. They're probably just there to learn more about things, but they're not going to buy. And then you have your closed lost. So how we handle that at Funnelwise and how I've helped clients at Marketo handle that is the concept of nurture. So sales has identified that they're not going to move forward at this time. For whatever reason, it's important to track the reason though. You're going to put them in some sort of nurture so you can keep them engaged. So whether they go to a competitor or they leave because of a certain piece of functionality, you still want to talk to them, maybe not sell to them like in a forceful way, but still continue to educate them because they clearly had the need before and they'll probably have it again. So it's really important to make sure your funnel stages don't only include that happy success path, but also include the leakage pieces where people might resurface. How we handle that at Funnelwise from a qualification standpoint is the concept of lead scoring. So what we're doing is we're actually assigning an arbitrary value based on their fit, so they meet the demographic profile, but also then based on the behaviors that they're doing, and making a threshold where we know that, okay, they're good to go, we know that this meets who we want to sell to. And so when we lose or we recycle someone, we actually reset their behavior score. So then sales knows when to reach out again once they've taken the right behavioral actions. Did that answer your question okay? Perfect.
Mollie, you've done a great job as far as explaining the funnel and all that. Can you just help me understand what problem is Funnelwise solving and what solution does Funnelwise provide for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, my background at Marketo with working with hundreds of companies across every industry out there to really use their marketing automation platform. There's also the concept of the CRM, which is primarily sales' marketing automation platform, but not marketing. And so we've got these 2 different silos out there. Marketers are working over here, sales are working over here. Big data silos. You're not actually able to get that complete picture of the full funnel. So what Funnelwise does is can bring the data in from those different platforms and truly give you a full funnel view into what's happening from marketing through sales. And as I get into the connecting the dots, Funnelwise then helps you get those right measurements, get the right metrics you need, forecast, set goals, and truly benchmark your behavior. So I'll talk through that a little bit more down here, but what it's doing is it's letting you build your blueprint and not just see it on paper, but have the numbers behind it.
So does Funnelwise replace one of those, or does it work with both the Marketo and the Salesforce?
Yep, so Funnelwise works with marketing automation platforms and CRMs together. So essentially it's becoming that middle piece and that single source of truth for your data.
Got it, thanks.
Yep.
Mollie, how do you track return on investment when you're selling B2B, and then how do you use case studies to then improve your brand and messaging?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we go into the metrics for the ROI that you're getting from, did you want the ROI from marketing efforts or just the funnel in general? What are you thinking?
When I buy your software,
Okay.
What does it get me?
Yeah, so when you would buy Funnelwise, what it's going to get you is to really help understand where you need to make those right investments, how long things are taking, how much money essentially you're leaving on the table by not doing things. So when we dive into these metrics, I'm I'm going to jump into the metrics really fast because I think that's where we're going with questions. So let me go back a slide so you can read my quote. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So in God we trust, all others must bring data. So with Funnelwise, and with anything that you're trying to do within your blueprint, having it on paper, having it documented is great. That's the first step. But just having it on paper doesn't make it actionable. You have to start tracking the metrics behind it. And so at Funnelwise, we've got 5 key metrics that are super important for our customers to really pay attention to. There's the movement, so how things are moving through the funnel, velocity, how fast they're moving, conversion rates, aging, how old are things that aren't moving, and then the activities or the efforts that you're putting in to move them. So when we think about the ROI in these scenarios as somebody who's using Funnelwise and looking at the funnel, it's really understanding how much money am I losing as a company because I'm putting investment in these certain activities that aren't moving records as fast or leads or opportunities as fast through the funnel as these other activities or other things. Same thing with sales reps. So making sure you're following the process, the consistency's there to truly move the records. So, because if you're not measuring these things, you can't actually improve your business. So what Funnelwise does is takes the manual portion of that measurement out. A lot of people use Excel to use this, which is great when you're starting out. We actually have a template online from an Excel standpoint to help smaller businesses start tracking this. And as you get larger and the more volume, that's where it makes sense to have more of the platform that does it automatically for you through your systems. That answer your question, the first half? So the second half was case studies. Want to refresh me what you wanted to know about case studies? Sorry, short-term memory. I have a newborn.
Wait, mic hopping. About how you focus the case studies on, I guess, customer personas.
Yeah, absolutely. So as my marketing team, what we're doing, we really focus the case study on the problem that we're solving for that customer. So as someone who sells into, at the C level, but also marketing, operations, sales, as well as finance from a Funnelwise perspective, because those are all users of our platform, they all have different problems, where it gets really tricky because you're trying to solve everyone's problem. And we do solve everyone's problem, but it's making sure that case study is going to resonate with the right person, because if you write it too broad, it's going to seem so fluffy. You have to be able to write it with the right level of details that as someone who's a prospective buyer can look at this and actually resonate. Okay, I'm having the same problem, and this is how they're solving it. Yeah, I can see you, so it's good.
Hi. One thing I've thought of is, have you thought about applying like the funnel process to a nonprofit seeking donors? Like, is that something that has come up frequently?
Yeah, absolutely. So during my time at Marketo, I actually worked with a lot of nonprofits and a lot of universities. And universities have, the whole acquiring students, but it also has the fundraising side of it. So the funnel's truly the process. So how are you initially, reaching out, judging their engagement, and helping to move that? And then it gets really fun when you start to flip your funnel. I know I'm going to throw a lot at you right now. And actually get that repeat funding from them, or the repeat sale, or the upsell, or the cross-sell. So it's how do you retain them as a customer as well? All right, I'm going to jump to my next couple of slides really fast. Maybe there'll be some more questions, who knows? So really building the funnel is how you as a business survive. Operationalizing it is truly how you win. So I like to look at this in terms of the maturity model. So desire and need. So you guys being here and listening to me right now cultivates the desire and need for the funnel. You guys understand how important they are. The next step is establishing the blueprint. So you've got your worksheet in front of you. You've established your blueprint. We're making progress. You're moving forward. The next thing is really the capturing and slicing the key metrics. So this is what we talked about, making sure you're tracking, making sure you're measuring so you can actually apply that to your business. So then the operationalizing comes into place. So once you have that foundation built and you've got the dots connected from a metric standpoint, this is really where you can start to use that data to look into the future, set goals, reverse engineer your funnel, understand if you need X in revenue, What do you need above, and when do you need it? Because you understand the velocity of your funnel. You understand your conversion rates. Then you can really form that early warning system and get the insights of, oh no, I'm not on track this quarter. Where do I need to make those adjustments to get back on track? Because no one likes surprises that they're not on track with their goals. Then you can start forecasting and projecting out to really truly understand where you're going to be as a business, making sure you're putting the right investments early on, and thinking through what's truly going to drive your business forward from the revenue standpoint. And lastly, you can start doing the benchmarking, both internal benchmarking across, your marketing channels or your sales teams, but also external benchmarking, understanding what other businesses are doing, what metrics they're getting from things to make sure you're a top performer. So I do have the link to Funnelwise resources on here. Check it out. I mean, it's product agnostic resources. It's truly to help you understand how to follow these steps. There's a lot of good worksheets, a lot of good ebooks, even some good case studies out there too. Any other questions about the wonderful F word that is funnel or anything marketing related?
Do you recommend when a company's brand new and they just don't have a lot of experience with where all their leads are coming from, that they sort of take a stab at what that might be and sort of reverse engineer from there, like what their goals are, and kind of work backwards then? Would that be a strategy when you haven't had a lot of sales so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, sometimes when you haven't had a lot of sales, it's hard to really, digest necessarily what steps and what process they're taking too. So I completely can empathize with how that feels, but it's important to understand what you need at the bottom and how you're going to get that from the top. So tracking where things are coming from, even if you're not 100% sure, I always ask my BDR team when they get on the phone to talk to someone who's qualified, how'd you hear about us? What made you come and find us? Because that helps me source things, because I might think that they found us one way, but they actually might have known about me for a long time and our company for a long time, that I might not truly have that right lead source. So making sure you're at least asking the right questions and then documenting it and tracking it, whether it's even just in Excel, will help give you that foundational knowledge, at least to start making those right decisions. I think there's someone over here.
So just generally, for say a media company that's more advertising supported, on the one hand, you'd have the funnel for getting the revenue from advertisers. On the one hand, revenue for readers, whatever, does it make sense to have two separate funnels for that, or just fold all the readership marketing and so forth into the advertising funnel? What are your thoughts on that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's kind of two ways to do that. There's the concept of multiple blueprints. So if there are two completely separate buying cycles that don't align whatsoever, you should definitely keep them separated because they're different processes. If it's the same process and generally the same groups of steps people are going through an engagement and understanding of your platform, put those together. But the key thing is that you want to be able to slice and dice the metrics to look at advertising and I'm sorry I didn't catch what the other piece was separately from the metric standpoint.
Just people engaging with the content.
Yeah.
But that's not really that's not necessarily purely a revenue thing. So that's kind of why I was thinking to what extent that's folded in. But yeah, those are separate things.
So then separate blueprints would make sense if they go through this separate process. Otherwise, slicing and dicing and being able to drill into the data is important from a tracking perspective. All right, well, I guess you're free from the funnels.
Thank you, Mollie. That was great.